All right, today's video I'm super excited for. We're gonna do a sneaker deep dive with Seth Fowler. My favorite sneaker YouTuber right here has come to the game barn to buy a sneaker collection from me. So we're gonna use some of these pairs to go over like things to look for authenticity.
Cool.
Things to look for value. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're at a Plato's Closet or a Nike outlet or a garage sale even.
Cool.
Like, what are some things to target?
Gotcha.
This is overwhelming for me, this space. So the knowledge, and I'm always I really want to learn as much as I possibly can, at least the low-hanging fruit in every category.
Right.
I'm also very interested in actually collecting Nikes and just sneakers in general.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm almost there, and I need some help to like feel confident enough to do it. So for me and for you guys, we're going to do a deep dive into the world of sneakers, you know, collecting and reselling tips and authenticity, all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
With an expert. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
And thanks to XYAB, the sponsor of this channel. They're a business-to-business video game accessories supplier. We love them and use them frequently in our business. You can use the link in the description for $50 off your first order of $100 or more. Go do it. So one of the biggest things, Seth, for me is the authenticity, right?
Okay.
This is like, there's so many fakes.
Yeah.
I mean, Thane proudly rocks fakes.
Oh, okay.
He just buys them as fake. He's like, nobody cares or knows the difference in his world. So people just think he has all these epic Jordans.
Right.
Hey, do whatever you want to do. But if I'm collecting, you know, I would want them to be authentic. So these are all authentic.
Right.
What are some like key things to look for in pairs that are fake?
Okay.
And then maybe some key things that you can, or apps or resources to know that they're real.
Okay.
That's a big one for me.
Well, the problem is that there's a lot of fakes, and there's not much. Like sometimes even the brand that makes the shoes has trouble determining what's fake and what's not fake. So usually when I buy sneakers secondhand, or if I'm buying them to wear and it's a hyped up pair of shoes, I'll try and buy it from a reputable source, like somewhere like GOAT or StockX or even eBay has authenticity guarantees. So they'll actually check them over. They'll have the seller send the shoes to the company. They'll check them over and then send them to you. So that's usually the way that I'll do it if I'm buying a shoe for myself that I'm not trying to thrift. If I'm out thrifting, it can be a little bit more difficult. So usually a lot of it comes down to feel. So like, unfortunately, it's something that you just have to get better at the more that you do it. So like, sometimes you'll tell a shoe is, well, let me pull out a shoe like this. It's obviously legit, but like, this is a pair of Air Jordan 4s. Now with 4s, they have a very distinctive silhouette and a shape. So sometimes what I'll find is that if I go to a store and I see an Air Jordan 4 with like, say, the shape's a little bit off, like maybe the toe box is a little bit too big, or say maybe the netting is weird, or something's a little bit off about it, that's usually a really good indicator. Now, telling fakes is a whole art, and I'm not great at it. I can just kind of give you a general idea whether I think a shoe is fake or not. There's like a lot of little things you can do, and it varies a lot based on the year of the shoe. It's really, really tough. What I would recommend is that if you are getting into sneaker reselling, maybe download a couple apps that have sneaker authentication. Like I use the Unboxed app. I'm owner of the Unboxed app. They have sneaker authentication. That's a good way to go. There's other apps you can use too. Or you can go to your local sneaker store and have them authenticate it for you if they're willing to do that for you. But one of the main things that I check out personally, now this is not always going to work for you because a lot of times when you're thrifting, they don't come with boxes. But a lot of times what you can do is if you pull up a picture of a sneaker box, of the same sneaker that you're buying, you compare the labels because sometimes the font will be different, the printing will be different, things like that. That's really an indicator that a lot of people use. Something else can be maybe logo placement or stitching. A lot of times if you look at Jordan sneakers, the stitching is pretty clean. Sometimes on fakes, it's a little janky, it's a little odd, it's a little off, things like that. Sometimes colors can be a little off, materials can feel a little bit off. It really depends on the situation. The problem is with more hyped up sneakers is that factories make a lot of fakes of those, so they get really good at making those fakes. So it's really hard to tell with, like for example, if I can pull out these Travis Scotts right here.
These are sweet.
They're sick, but there's a lot of fakes of them. So the problem is it's really difficult to tell when a shoe is authentic or fake. But really it comes down to what I do a lot of times is I will go online and I'll search the style code of the shoe and I'll just try and compare the shoe that I have in my hand to the images online. And again, that's not a foolproof way to do it, but it helps. And a lot of times, like, there'll be something about it that'll seem off. Some people say it's the smell, some people say it's the feel, it's material. There's no one way to do it. But a lot of times what I'll do if I'm buying an expensive shoe, I'll legit check it on an app first.
So the Unbox app you mentioned, what do you send a picture of the tag or what?
They ask for a bunch of different pictures of tags, the shape of the shoe. There's an internal tag in here, which a lot of people use. This size tag right in there. It's in different places for different shoes. But right there, like sometimes even the size tag will look, you can tell, like if the Jordan Jumpman logo is backwards or something stupid, Like a lot of
Sometimes
times,
there's going to be obvious things.
yeah, like there's some Jordan shoes, he has a little bit of a butt crack.
Okay.
And sometimes on fakes, it's more pronounced or less pronounced. So that's another thing too. It really just it changes so much based on the silhouette and the shoe. And what's frustrating is even if you buy a shoe from like GOAT or StockX or eBay, sometimes fakes slip through the cracks and there's nothing you can do about it. So unfortunately, it's just such an imprecise art that, you know.
What I'm kind of hearing to summarize that is it's difficult.
Yeah.
And just being involved and learning it is one thing to do. Using the Unbox app and these resources to give yourself the best chance of getting an authentic pair.
Right.
But for these, the reason I was so confident in buying them, you know, to sell to you was I knew the people that they're coming from.
Exactly.
They bought them from the Nike store. They bought them from like Soul Supremacy or like really reputable sellers.
Right.
And they knew their stuff and
Right.
they were trustworthy.
Right.
So if you're buying a big pair or a big collection, in my opinion, that's the only way to do it if the story doesn't check out.
Yeah.
Similar like it would in video games or like a fake Michael Jordan rookie card. Stay away.
Yeah.
But trustworthy sources.
It's crazy too, because like over here, let me show you. There's some receipts that came. I should have put them back in the boxes, but I didn't. There's some receipts that came from the Nike store. Now, what's insane about these is that although you'd think if the shoe comes with a receipt, it's good. Unfortunately, the fake factories also fake the receipts too.
Oh my gosh.
So sometimes and it's not just these. It'll be like, and Jordan Brand recently did this. They recently started printing out some receipts on just plain printer paper, which is the dumbest thing in my opinion, because it's just like you can literally just scan this.
Easy
It
to-
doesn't even say the specific name. It does have the style code, but it just says Air Jordan 11. That could be any colorway. So a lot of things that Jordan Brand is doing to make it harder for people.
Yeah, no kidding.
But,
no kidding.
One thing I will say is that in terms of thrifting, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. So like if you're finding a pair of Travis Scott's or maybe Sean Witherspoon's at a Goodwill, the chance of it being legitimate, or like, for example, which has happened to me a lot, a pair of Yeezys at the Goodwill, like it's probably not real. If you're willing to
Sure.
spend like the $20-30 to chance it, go for it. But if it's like, you know, priced at $300, maybe let that one go. You know? So,
Yes.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's wisdom right there from a man with a lot of experience. All right, next topic I want to dive into is kind of a macro perspective of brands to look for, things to target, things that have value.
Cool.
Let's just kind of dive into that topic.
Cool.
All right, so my perspective in what to look for is basically like Nike and Jordan, right?
Okay, cool.
And I'm familiar with some other brands and stuff, but I'm curious, like, as somebody who's been doing it for as long as you've been doing it, which I don't know how long you've been like into sneakers and collecting and all that. How long would you say?
15 years?
So a long time. What are some like things that you target, brands that you target, things that you get excited about that you think like somebody like me kind of getting into it should maybe look for?
Well, the obvious ones are Nike and Jordan. But with
Yeah.
Nike and Jordan, there are, again, you deal with fakes, more so than any other brand. And then also, sometimes Nike's a really popular shoe, so there's a lot of them out there. So Air Maxes can do really well for you, certain colorways of Air Maxes. Obviously, colorways like this one is a $1,000 or $800 pair of shoes. But again, it's a special edition version, so it's going to be, you know, worth more. But standard Air Maxes can do well if they're in good condition. I think one of the biggest things when it comes to Nike and Jordan sneakers is condition. So like if you find a good pair of like Air Maxes that are in great condition, they'll probably do better. Just because they're easy to, they'll sell quickly is the main thing.
Yeah.
Profit-wise, they might not move, or they might not be that profitable. I would say surprising brands that are very profitable are Brooks, specifically their running sneakers.
Yeah.
Actually, running sneakers in general, because a lot of times I'll find running sneakers at Goodwill that are in great condition and still have a lot of life left in them for like $5, and Brooks I could resell for like 30 to 40 easily. It's certain silhouettes though, so it's not everyone. But what I do, which I get a lot of crap for on my page because I don't do it in every video, even though I should, is that on all of these shoes, for example, let me pull up a pair of Jordans. It's on every pair, so I don't know why I'm trying to find a specific one, but on every shoe, there's a style. This is the worst one to use because, no, there it is. It's perfect. Okay, so there's a style code at the bottom of the tag right there. So those little numbers right there, you can't really see. Let me see if I can read them to you. Oh, there it is. 487471021. Those right there. If you type those into eBay, the exact shoe will pop up because it's unique for the shoe. And again, you probably won't be able to find this that easily at Goodwills because they don't usually come with boxes, but it's also in the box right there, those numbers right there.
Okay.
And every brand has a style code like that in a similar place on their tag. So what I do is I check the style code and I kind of look at sold listings and I see generally what the price range is going to be. And I think for me, if it's double or more than I'm paying for it, I'll do it.
And this is something that you did on your channel with the $20 sneaker collection.
Yeah.
So the Brooks idea, the $5 Brooks that you sell for 30 or 40.
Yeah.
perfect way, you know,
started,
which is the same kind of way that we like to do it, like with the Pokemon Pursuit, is using those profits to work your way up to a Grail piece,
right?
Something like this, $800,000 pair of sneakers, which is amazing, and that might be the play, like,
definitely
utilize those 30 to 40 because that's realistic at a thrift store, and work your way up and get it from Nike or get it from one of these reputable sources. And that's helpful to me because that's how my mind works. Yeah, like I can do that.
Yeah,
I can work my way up and get a couple pairs that I really like. Which I really like the Travis Scotts.
Oh, they're sick.
I'm glad you're keeping those. Yeah, that's very helpful.
Yeah, I'd say there's actually even more profit doing things like the thrift store route than even, in most cases for normal people, than reselling sneakers by buying them new. Because unless you're doing, you know, huge bulk or you have a connection to a sneaker store, you're not going to get like the crazy stuff. You might get one pair lucky in like a raffle or something like that.
Gotcha.
But the sneaker market's so up and down. Like if you bought a pair of Jordans right now at a store, you'd probably make $20, and then after fees and StockX, you'd probably make $5. So it's just not worth your time. Whereas a thrift store, you buy it for $5, you sell it for $30. Profit margin's better.
Okay.
A little bit more work because you do usually have to clean the shoes up. Another thing is actually when you're buying a shoe from a thrift store, condition is super important. So like if it's something you can clean, like a stain or maybe a piece of dirt on the outsole, great. But if the outsole is worn through, not worth it because you can't fix that. If there's a tear on the upper, probably not worth it. You can't fix that. Things like that, because those are just so much more difficult to sell. And a lot of times what'll happen is I'll buy a pair of shoes from a thrift store and not have checked it out, and then like the sock line will have this big rip in the back or something stupid, and then it's like, well, I can't even really sell that pair. So.
All right, what are your thoughts on sending a pair of shoes through the washing machine?
Oh, it's definitely doable.
Oh, I'm surprised. That's your reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, you wouldn't do it on a pair of Jordans.
I wouldn't do it to. There's certain materials. So, for example, I wouldn't do it to where this Travis is at. Oh no, this is perfect. I wouldn't do it to anything suede or nubuck. That's gonna get ruined in the water. But if it's regular tumbled leather, there's actually a couple brands do this. A brand that I used to work with called Rejuvenator. They give you like this laundry system. And you don't have to use Rejuvenator, you can use certain laundry products, but like putting the shoe in like some sort of bag, like whether it's a pillowcase or the bag, I would recommend grabbing I still like them, I still use them all the time. Putting it in a bag, running it through like a delicate wash, using like a little pod. Rejuvenator has these little pods you can throw in there too. And it'll just clean it, let it dry for a day, and you have to put a shoe tree in there so it maintains its shape. But it's doable.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you have to wash cold, because if you wash hot, it can overheat the glue. So things like that.
Makes sense.
Just like you can Google it and you'll find, it's definitely doable.
Rejuvenator.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's a good one.
I like it.
That's a good one.
All right, and lastly, I want to talk about, so we can all have something to go away with. We've got the Unbox. What was it called?
Unboxed app.
The Unboxed app.
Yep.
Rejuvenator's a cool one that you pointed out. What, just in general, from a value or maybe even a flipping standpoint, what are like the top 3 go-to apps or websites?
The top 3, I would say, are GOAT, StockX, and eBay, right now at least, in terms of buying and reselling and things like that. StockX is probably the most popular because it's what everyone uses. In terms of checking values, that's probably the best for checking values of only new sneakers. They only do new sneakers. GOAT does used and new. I personally buy with GOAT the most because they have an instant ship option, so they have stuff at their warehouse. So, for example, I review a lot of sneakers on my channel, so I'll buy a sneaker and have it next day. StockX doesn't do that. eBay doesn't do that. eBay is probably the best for used sneakers, both in terms of selling and in buying, because you get a much better idea of what you're buying. And then in terms of used sneaker value too, I use eBay sold listings. It's great.
Right on. And the authenticity guarantee, is that
it's good.
Rock solid?
Yeah.
It's good for cards as well.
Definitely.
We love eBay here, so that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm glad it works out for the sneaker people.
Definitely.
That's going to be it for this one. Thank you, Seth,
Thank you so much
for joining. Check out Seth Fowler on YouTube. You won't regret it, especially if you want to get into some sneakers and just watch the greatest sneaker channel on the internet.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
With a good dude. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.